So let us look at this question. Question says that high GDP growth does not necessarily translate in inclusive development. Critically examine this statement in light of recent trends and India's economic growth and income distribution. Anybody who is very confirmed, yes, I know the real demand of the question, and so this is an thing we need to address in the answer. Achha, today we're going to introduce a new way to analyze. Na? The thing has done now. Every day, if you go and come and I'll ask you what is the core demand, it becomes very monotonous. Now, what I'll do today, I'll introduce new perspective to analyze. What you need to do is to follow, right? So start karo. Let us break the ice. Who will going to initiate? Who think? Not think in the sense like having a crowd, but I guess you can make some attempt. Yes, I am having little confidence. This is the core demand of the question. So what is the core demand of the question? Okay. Yes, Priyag.
Yes, sir.
What is the core demand?
Sir, in the light of recent trends, why the GDP growth can't able to correlate with the inclusive development in the India?
So, like, what we need to do? Very fair. Chalo, I understand. What is Kaspi's point?
Yes, sir. Sir, recent trends in inclusive development of India.
Okay. Achha, anybody want to add? Like, don't feel that I am deliberately putting you into the pressure to ask.
Sir, Bhagyajit speaking.
Yes, Bhagiji.
Sir, the key word of this question is not necessarily. Means that high GDP growth can be translated into inclusive growth, or it cannot be. So we can give the example of jobless growth also. Means like in India after post liberalization period, we can see that the tertiary sector booms, but we can see in industry sector there is no growth of employment, and also the agricultural sector also get backward at this point.
Okay, fair, very good. Anybody else want to put point? Now, so why like this? So if you go to see this question, the question is intent to know from you, why high growth, high GDP growth, in the sense this GDP growth and their correlation in the sense how we will do. Achha, correlation with what? Inclusive development. So we need to see why GDP growth and inclusive development are not positively connected. A positive means this one. This is positive. That is negative. So we need to see why there is a more of negative. But we need to critically examine. If there is a necessarily, like, it does not mean like we need to tell negative. And that also we need to see in the light of recent growth, recent economic growth, and recent what? this income distribution. Income distribution. Together. Now let us see again. What we need to do? We need to establish a correlation between the high GDP growth rate and inclusion and exclusion of a different dimensions of inclusive development. तो देखो जरा क्वेश्चन सेट हो रहा है इससे. Let us see. High GDP growth rate does not necessarily translate into inclusive development. Critically examine this statement in the light of the recent trend in economic growth and income distribution. अच्छा चलो, are you all agreed on this is what we need to establish?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
अब देखो, we have been doing this for many times. And now what we need to do today, we need to find out on one way out. What we'll do so that our analysis, our logical thinking will improve with respect to this question. And as we have discussed yesterday, that we need to use, now we are living in an AI era, so we cannot ignore AI. Because if we are not using AI, believing as if our opinion is sufficient, our opinion won't going to grow if we're not going to support it within a recent trend data and all. And above all, what we'll do so that our opinion will improve more? What we'll do so that our opinion going to improve more? Batao. What is the base for opinion? So our base for opinion is not report actually.
Real-time data.
Fundamental.
Foundation, fundamental.
Foundation. Fundamental. Report thinks you will get support here. Report. Here you have to justify with a report. What I have shared, you have to see this side report. This to report. Okay. Now let us see again. I'm decoding this question more detail. Now, what is the nature of the high GDP growth rate? So these natures are, we have a service-led growth, services-led growth, that once we have discussed also. So we have a services-led growth. Okay. Second, we have a low employment. Low employment. So I'm giving it a low employment. Elasticity. Okay. Now, elasticity means when the growth is more, exactly on the same ratio, we have employment is more. Acha, which sector is getting more contribution? Formal sector or informal sector?
Informal.
Formal. Formal, you know what is formal? Like MNC comes where? MNCs.
Formal sector.
Formal. So high formal contribution, we can see how formal contribution in GDP. Contribution. Then it is rural area or urban centric growth?
Urban centric.
तो देखो urban centric. It is an urban centric growth, है ना? So we need to see this as an the dimensions of the GDP growth needed to be break down into these all components. Then only we can justify. Then this is consumption driven now. We have a consumption driven. What goods are having a more consumption this time? Like we have consumer goods, electronic goods. These are having a more consumption, less on what agriculture product and all. The growth is more. Growth is more because innovation is coming more in these all what we call like white goods. So we have a consumption, and that consumption led growth is also like skewed. It is not balanced. So we need to see it is like a more towards a certain categories of the things, right? Acha, or batao, this time we have what economy is growing faster? Digital economy. digital economy. We need to see all segments. Huh? Okay, and then we have the many export-led growth is also there. So high GDP growth needed to see with its different dimensions. Okay, Achha, these growths, this is cyclic, affected by global shocks. है ना? We need to touch these all dimensions. Na? MNC led. Now coming to inclusive development. Now inclusive development has many types of development, but its component is like defined by inclusiveness will come when we have kind of employment generation. Okay, if the growth is there and employment generation is there, and not only this, if we have like access to services are there, basic services, access to basic services. What is basic services? Can you give me a hint? What is basic services? What is services? Forget about basic. What is services? अच्छा बोलो ना. When we going to? Huh?
Intangible, which can't be seen.
But okay, good. And what is basic services?
But which is a necessary.
Necessary for what?
Like,
Survival.
so basic amenities. This is we need a house for living. So इस तरीके से sir.
Basic is the bare minimum things which required us to
for a
contribute.
The essential service, like the basic services which are essential for our productive life and healthy and safety living.
No, that is okay. But basic services which require our productive contribution to the GDP.
Productive.
Productive contribution. See, suppose we are having a fresh water, healthy food. Okay, but we don't have an electricity. Can we contribute to the GDP? If we are, see, if we are running in some online program, let us suppose. So basic necessity required, we need to have like all-time supply of electricity. So these are known as basic services, which must have an access. So see, this is where we need to understand. If you aren't going to have a clarity about the basic services, and why basic services, that which helps capacity to translate into productive output. So that is where we need to be very clear about this. है ना? अच्छा, बताओ जरा, and give me the logic also. Try करना. Every time try to give me the logic. है ना? So it needs to have an assets access. Achha, you know what is assets in economics? And just I'm like putting an emphasis. It does not mean I'm deviating from the question. I'm just letting you realize. When you listen to me, follow to me, you will see. You will not going to grow. You will have a leap and bound. Like you will expand like anything, like in this direction. What is assets? It is not assets and liability or assets in economics. Assets means it is a means of production. What is a means of production for farmer? What is
land?
Land. Yes.
So tractor.
So why access to the assets are required? Batao jara. Why access to the assets are required? There are two types of individuals in a village area. One is landless laborer and one is owner, land, farmer. Those who are having ownership, they are known as a farmer. Then how the things are going to be different? Who will get benefited with the government schemes?
Landless.
The one with land.
Land, because like who will get benefit if we have a subsidy in fertilizer? Who will get a benefit of subsidy in electricity? So these accesses are important to get a subsidy support, right? So this way we need to think, no? Then we have a financial access. So I'm leaving this here, financial access. Now I'm going to guide today one important thing, no? So that you all will, now from today onwards, we need to use this AI bot, okay? Chat GPT and all, only to get an idea about these all things. Iske ideas pakro, exact ideas. More you will have a clarity on these all point, better you will understand these all things. Okay. Now what do you need to do today? अब क्या करना है आपको? After like looking this all, you need to make one table, and this table needed to be like this way. So I'm giving so this is a new attempt to see your answer. Na? I'm intent to let you all participate in writing sentences, impressive sentences. So that is where we are heading towards. Now what you need to do today, after completion of this session, you need to make a table. Okay. One is inclusive development, table on inclusive development, and its component. Second, because we need to see with the recent growth, recent growth and this one. So we first, second is in a GDP. Okay, so we need to see the recent GDP growth or economic growth. Economic growth or GDP growth. Let us see. We have a recent economic growth. Okay, then we need to see the correlation. Now, what is this correlation is? Ki both are positive or negative. You know what is positive? What correlation is a positive? When one is growing, other is also growing. See, na? And if one is growing and other is declining, it is a negative growth. Direct relation is positive growth. Inverse relation is a negative growth. Okay. And then you have to see what you have to make an analysis based on recent growth and recent economic growth and recent income distribution, which you can see from the case studies provided. And then this is a very, very important box, very important. And that is, I'll say, remark. So with the reference to this all, you will understand how to use Toffee notes. If you get a chance, an idea how to use Toffee notes, that is itself is sufficient to crack exam within a big marks. And what you need to do, I am giving a 1-2 hint. You have to search some other dimensions. This we have seen, moment we have seen the one of the dimension of the inclusive growth is employment generation. So first we'll see the employment generation. First is employment generation. Okay. Okay. Employment generation. Acha. Do we have employment generation is there? Okay. GDP growth is fast, hai na? We have a very high GDP growth. Acha, this GDP growth is what type of growth? Jobful growth or jobless growth? Jobless. Ab yahan pe you have to, acha. So that means it establishes a what relationship? Positive or negative relationship is?
Negative.
Negative. That is what we need to highlight. Now you have to justify. And that is where I have, before coming to this class, I have read your Toffee notes. It is given under the report of, and that is where you can get a support also. We have CMI reports, we have PLFS reports, which says that there is a decline in 70% youth employment. Informal sector is gaining now. Informal sector has more than 90% is joblessness. Okay, so we need to see new informal, like we do not have an again here. You'll find, and which sector got benefited? Agriculture sector or IT or infrastructure?
IT.
IT, है ना? Which sector has benefited? Capital led or like a labor intensive?
Capital intensive.
And capital. So you have to see with these all reports, right? Now this we can do, है ना? तो चलो अब यहाँ पे remark बताओ तो. What is your remark says? Looking this all trend, what is your remark says?
तो wealth concentration हो जाता है सर इससे.
हाँ, तो GDP with the recent GDP leads to what? Wealth concentration. कितना अच्छा आइडिया. तो we have a wealth concentration. अच्छा, okay, ये तो एक point है. At the cost of what?
By increasing low skilled workers.
Okay, sorry, come again.
By increasing low skilled workers and making them.
By excluding, na?
Yeah, excluding. Like.
Excluding. देखो excluding.
Limited employment potential.
By livelihood security of low income group, है ना? इसको इस तरह से बोलना आप. Don't say like only the low income group. No, develop a fear and like and kind of on a sort of on a curiosity among the policymakers. So this wealth concentration is on the cost of exclusion of livelihood security. It cuts securities. Yes, they go, and then yes, it adds in a further complications in government subsidies. वो तो उसमें आएगा when the land exclusion is there. MNCs are buying a land on a government compensated rates, and the farmers are losing their assets, है ना? And that is how the subsidies are directing down people's उसमें. So that way we need to see it, है ना?
Limited employment potential.
चलो, we'll take up more. We have income equalities again. Income equality. Income equality is one of the component, na? Acha, the recent GDP growth or economic growth is creating a what? More equality or more inequality? Recent GDP is creating a more equality or more inequality?
More inequality.
More inequality है ये तो.
More inequality. So relationship between this GDP growth and inclusive development is here. Positive or negative? Negative.
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 Negative. अब इसको justify करना है. You can justify with your report, ना? Very first page itself says, very first page, कि like according to the World Inequality Lab, and this is like one institution which says in 2024, 1% controls 1% world में more than 25% income, है ना? More than 25, 1% of the world population, 25% of world's income. It's a very, very massive, right? Like a what? Inequality, 8%, 25, so world में. And second, this report also says that the bottom 50% has a trend. What trend? उनका trend क्या दिख रहा है? They are continuously losing their share. उनके decline हो रहा है. Like they are losing their like a hold on the resources is declining all the time, every time. It also says that the corporate profits got doubled. Corporate profits got doubled, but the wages shares have got declined. ठीक है ना? तो अब इसका ओपिनियन बताओ तो जरा, आपको क्या क्या लग रहा है? ओपिनियन, गिव ओपिनियन. Listening this, give opinion. किसका opinion? Whose opinion is touching? I just want to see so that you can make an attempt to touch and move your examiner.
shrinking the real incomes of informal workers and small farmers.
Sorry, come again, slow.
Shrinking the real incomes of informal workers and small farmers.
Okay. So the growth is concentrated among elite peoples only. है ना? The growth is benefiting only the corporate elites.
Sir, wealth is concentrated in the 1%, and labor intensive sectors are getting unperformed and lagging, sir.
Yes. And it is creating a क्या? देखो, distribution of inequality among the population. Yes. So socio-economic divide क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे? The socio-economic divide is thinning or widening?
Greatly widening.
Yes, it is firmly widening. ऐसा. You have to put this way. When you add adjective to your opinion, firmly widening, deepening, like this way, creating a new divides, new divides, cornering, like you have to make this way points. Okay. Then we have this way you have to make a table. How? You have to create dimensions, and then you have to see regional balances. See, regional balances is again a component. Regional balance is again a component of economic growth. So regional balance, like in India, which sector is contributing more in GDP, eastern or western?
Western.
North or south?
South.
So regional balance or this GDP growth has a positive relation or negative relation? Negative again.
Negative.
अब यहाँ पे आपको justify करना है. You have to justify that in Bihar per capita, in Bihar per capita and Maharashtra per capita, you're going to put in this way, and then you have to put in one opinion. One opinion. ठीक है ना? तो बताओ इसका क्या आपको क्या लगता है? Give your opinion. Regional balance imbalances is there
because of coastal networks and access to sea. Transportation is easy.
Outcome. Excellent, यार, बहुत बढ़िया. So this has disturbs national cohesion, है ना? Dented democratic bonding, impetus to migration, like this way, undermining. Yes, ऐसे सोचना है. Yes, good. Undermining the potential of a human resource, resulting in widening of regional imbalances. That way,
asymmetric development. Asymmetric development between different states.
Yes. अच्छा, increasing. तो देखो कितना अच्छा है. Increasing the middle class debt. It means middle class size will be expanding or contracting. So the size is contracting. That way, you have to make your opinion so much wide and loud, so that and that is where we're going to get in a marks. Opinion. अब चलो इतना तो बात कर लिया हमने. Now we have financial inclusion. One component is a financial inclusion. Yes, we have too much stress of resources in one region, right? Achha. Financial inclusion. Now, financial inclusion has increased or decreased? We have a positive impact. It is in a positive. Why? Because we have a UPI revolution. Now everybody is having an access to smartphone, and not only that, we have a Jan Dhan Yojana is also there. So smartphone has given a what kind of a support for financial inclusion. Now it means what? You can see the government through this have through Jandan, government also let people open their account, and that is why we have a direct benefit transfer have been operated. तो इससे क्या हुआ कि now you can report में देख सकते हो आप, we have a digital payment becomes easy now, है ना? Government has excluded middlemen, and as it has excluded, we have a direct connection. तो बताओ जरा इसका opinion. Tell me opinion.
For access to credit and investments.
हाँ, access to credit to whom? Vulnerable people is easy now.
Yes, sir.
है ना? DBT and direct benefit tax. Yes. So you have to take a vulnerable groups are now become so much benefited with this. Na? So यहाँ पे you have to make it this way. So we cannot say all the time कि this has damaged the inclusiveness. We have some more features are there where we can say now we have some chance कि positivity is there. And health access क्या हो रहा है? Health access. The private sector growth is more in a health. There also we have a negative impact, है ना? So that way, अच्छा, digital inclusion is also a component. Digital inclusion. So is digital inclusion is having a positive correlation or negative correlation?
Positive.
Mixed of both. Mixed of both. Yes, yes. Mixed of both. Somewhere, and you have to justify, है ना? जैसे we have प्रधानमंत्री दिशा PM G Disha, प्रधानमंत्री G Disha. Just moment before I had a session, that is where I have discussed PM Disha के बारे में. This PM Disha has helped people, rural people, to have access to the UPI, DigiLocker, है ना? And that is how they have got benefited digital access. Yes.
Sir, digital
Enhancing digital literacy.
हाँ, digital literacy.
old को भी सिखाना उसके ऊपर भी कर रहे हैं.
Sorry.
To teach them how to use the tech.
Yes, yes. We have another. This Kausal Vikas is also there. है ना? So, let us look at this question. कि high GDP growth does not necessarily translate into inclusive development. Critically examine this statement in the light of the recent trend in India's economic growth and income distribution. So, do you all agree that this chart will somehow going to address demand of the question? We need to establish, Acha, now do what? Follow this advice. Make your own chart and share it to me, so that in the next attempt I'll take one new question and we'll do what side by side we're going to make one more attempt, writing an impressive sentence out of our opinion. And that is where you're going to see, like, your opinion going to be your sentence will going to be very different, and your own uniqueness, your unique thought will be there in your sentence. So let us conclude this now. We'll meet again with one attempt to write impressive sentences out of our own exercise based inputs. Okay.